think YouTube is king. If you of the mindset of just nicking people's content, you're not going to get too far with it, I don't think.
No.
Basically, the reason why I quit, if I accept this offer and I was paid 3 times, about 3 months worth of my salary. And prior to that point, I'd always thought cycling was just a gimpy sport, not going to lie.
Welcome back to Emotional Intelligence. I'm so excited about today's pod. We are third. How many pods in are we now? 3. We've done 3. So this is the third one back. And today's guest, I reckon, is probably my most requested guest. I genuinely believe whenever I put a question box out asking like who you guys want to see on this pod, it's always the same name, and that's Mr. Dan Jones. Welcome, brother.
Making me blush, mate. Making me blush with that kind of stuff. I'm happy to be here. There's some gaff you got here, mate. I really like it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Back in London for a day, just one day.
What do you think about coming to London as a northern lad?
My honest
You can be
answer,
honest, please. Yeah.
I don't mind it for short periods of time. Coming down for a day or two, I'm sound with that. But I think having to stay here for any longer, it's a bit too like it's over sensory. You know what I mean? Like sensory overload.
Yeah. Are you in the countryside up north?
No, not so much. I was in Manchester city centre when like 3 years ago. I moved out because Manchester I found even too busy and noisy down there, and moved out to the suburbs a little bit more greenery. Still like 10 minutes away from Manchester, but it's just quieter, greener, and London's just the antithesis of what I want to be surrounded at this age as well. I don't know. I'd have loved it maybe 7-8 years ago.
Yeah. You're 30 now, aren't you?
31 now.
Jeez. Yeah. I have to say, mate,
31.
You don't look 31.
I get that a lot, mate.
You look very young for your age.
Baby face, can't grow a beard. Thought the moustache might add a bit of
moustache
age.
Is all right, though.
Moustache is fine. This took about a year to grow.
Yeah.
But it's all right now.
Yeah. No, I always find that everyone who's from the north always says the same thing about London. It's like, you're near a city, obviously. If you're from Liverpool, Manchester, you're still in a busy city, but everyone's lifestyle's different up there, it feels like.
Yeah, I think I do get a little bit of FOMO occasionally from London, because everything, especially the cycling scene down here, seems serious, like proper. There's something going on all the time every weekend. Yeah. In Manchester, there's a couple of like Rafa Manchester obviously do quite a lot of stuff, but there isn't the same community. There isn't like a Richmond Park. There ain't a Regent's Park where people just go and religiously do it every day. So it is lacking a little bit up there up north. But you got the peaks, Peak District.
Exactly. Yeah.
The riding, obviously, it's a bit hillier as well, but it's a bit more me. I find like driving, even just getting here from Euston on the bike, stress levels just through the roof.
Are you all right with like clipping in the city centre now?
Yeah, I'm all right with stuff like that. Yeah. That's all sound. It's more just the cars and the sensory overload of, I get stressed when I hear cars behind me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same with you starting out. You're in that.
For sure. I kind of baptism by fire though, because it's like I have to go through these city centre pits to get to the practice spots. So like if I'm going Regents, it's a 40-minute cycle. If I'm going to Richmond, it's an hour and 20. So
yeah, Richmond, that's such a shame, man. Because most people live down south of the river. Yeah,
southwest. Yeah. So if you've got London as a clock face, they are more kind of like 7-8 o'clock. Yeah. And then I'm 2 o'clock.
Out of the way.
So I'm literally just the complete opposite end.
Yeah.
Like northeast.
There with Izzy though.
Huh?
There with Izzy.
Yeah. We've lived together now. We've only actually lived north of the river together. I lived in Putney, which is like a 10-minute cycle from Richmond Park.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, and then I moved after COVID from there to Finsbury Park, and then that's where we've been, like Finsbury Park, Dalston, now Hackney.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but no, it's nice to have you down, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for making the journey.
It's good. Yeah, the setup, mate. It's just class.
Oh, sick! It's nice to hear that, because obviously now I'm doing it all on my own. It's cool to hear that like it's still got that wow factor.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you've seen him behind the scenes as well, doing all the stuff. Guy knows his stuff.
That's the thing, because I've been doing it for so long. It's like I can just do it all myself.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Apart from the editing and stuff like that, but I can do that, but it's just too time consuming with all the other content.
For sure.
But no, Dan, obviously you have been in the content game for a while now. You have been on everyone's screens, all of that sort of good stuff for, I would say, well, I've known you about your content for about a year and a half, I'd say. How did you get into it, man?
So I've been doing it now, I started off doing it, for those of you who aren't aware, I've been doing it for about 3 years. I started around this time, actually, what was it, 2022? I started doing running randomly, because I went on a trip to Chamonix with some of the lads on like a bit of a hiking gig. They are runners. I'm not a runner. At the time, I'd spent the last, 8 years just drinking, smoking, neglecting my health. I was in a pretty pretty bad way, really. It was a strange one because I was a pretty athletic kid.
Really?
I grew up, my old man got me into golf. Football was a big one since I was about 6. Tennis.
So you're quite a sporty kid then, yeah?
Yeah, proper sport.
Were you good at anything, or were you just keen?
You know, I was never going to go pro at football, but played for school, did like the Cheshire Cup and stuff like that. Got opportunities to play at counties ground and bits and bobs like that, which was highlights of like my school life and that. And then when I went to uni and a bit before that, obviously college and that, you know what it's like. You start drinking and going out, and that becomes pretty big. And I dropped all the sports, just became a bit of a dosser.
A degenerate.
Yeah.
But you have that kind of like void period, don't you, in your life where it's, I would say, between the ages of 16 and 21, where you're like, nah, I couldn't think of anything worse than just like spending my time going to train. Yeah. Whereas it gets to a point where that you soon grow out of that because other things are less important.
It was FIFA, mate, as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was the drinking, smoking, FIFA. My weekends just obsessed with FIFA Ultimate Team. I had no time. Always.
Yeah. Were you decent?
No, I wasn't even good.
I'd struggle to get silver, mate. Yeah.
I was pretty bad, but I was obsessed with it, so I do it every weekend. But anyway, back to the point. Yeah. We did this trip in Chamonix.
There's a lot of tangents on this pod, just let me
know. I can imagine. We did this trip to Chamonix, which is a beautiful place. If you've never been, you have to get out there. It's a sensational part of the world in the French Alps. And we just so happened to be there on the weekend of the Golden Trail Series, which is pretty big. Trail running event, kind of like UTMB.
Okay. Just
a little bit of a tiny bit smaller. Loads of race series across the world in like Madeira and beautiful places, basically. And when we were there, the village of Chamonix just like became like a bit of a festival atmosphere. People were clapping, all these runners doing these silly events as well. We're talking, I think there's easier events, like short distances, but then people are running 300 odd K through the night type thing. Like silly things. And we basically saw these runners in the night because in Chamonix, we were in the valley and then there's just mountains either side, like Mont Blanc, beautiful mountains and that. And in the evening, we were sat on our little balcony in the chalet. It was dark and you could just see little head torches in the mountains of these dons running through the evening. And I was like, that is the most inspiring... Can I swear?
Yeah, of course.
Most inspiring shit I've ever seen in my life. And then I left Chamonix thinking I was going to be a trail runner. I was like, you know what? I like my hiking and stuff like that. Trail running seems like a logical next step. But I lived in Manchester city centre, so it's not very accessible to trails. I've done a couple of trail runs, which was basically me just going out hiking with trail shoes on.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this ain't practical. I'm not going to get far with this. So I'm going to start road running. Mm-hmm. I started road running after however long of smoking and drinking. My lungs were in the mud, mate. They were so bad.
So when you say it, because I've never been a smoker, so you go to do cardio, what is the feeling like? Is it like a tightness?
It's a tight chest. It's like you can't get sufficient oxygen in your lungs, basically. It's what it feels like. Yeah. When you start getting phlegmy and stuff after running, I'm talking like 400 metres. And obviously when you're getting into running new as well, you don't know about easy running and that sort of stuff. So I was donning like these 400 metres. I wasn't sprinting, but I was going quicker than you should do. And then I'd have to stop, like catch my breath, go again. Yeah. Struggling proper serious. But at the time as well, I was big into photography, and we were at a period in social media, which would be quite interesting because you'll know about all this. But imagery and stuff was going out, and reels and stuff were coming in.
It fell off a cliff, didn't it? It was sudden. It was because Izzy, my fiance, has been doing food content for like 6 years. And she used to just take pictures of her food, like aerial shots of her plates, and that was her post, and they bang.
Crazy.
And it's like now, then was a point where like, right, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and I'd been like self-taught photography and stuff. I was obsessed with it for a long time, alongside the hiking, doing all my like landscape photography. But I wanted to get into video, like just try my hand at video, because I've always enjoyed the creative things like that, be it graphic design, photography, videography, and stuff. And I made a secret TikTok account to start documenting my journey into running. And it was a pretty interesting one because obviously at the time I was handy on a camera photography-wise, but getting into video was a whole different kettle of fish, innit? Like, you'll know how it is. It's a totally different thing.
Mate, it's insane. Just to interject about the whole video things, obviously I'm now doing what you were essentially, I would say, a year and a half ago with your YouTube channel, trying to upgrade the quality and just sort of invest more time into it. And it's a rabbit hole, mate. Like, I've got one little camera. I use Izzy's DJI Pocket as well as my Osmo Action. And I'm now like, I need another camera. I need something better. And you're constantly like fighting this battle of I need to upgrade.
Yeah, it's mad. And I started off like everyone does with a phone, just because I didn't know how to actually. I had a nice like mirrorless camera, but I didn't know how to use it for video.
Yeah.
So I started off on my phone, and I would basically just go out, struggle on these runs, like really struggle because it was like midsummer as well. It was hot, couldn't breathe. Do like a 3K run, come back and sit in my car and just talk about how it went, just honestly. And I'd just basically just moan about it. And talk about how much I'm struggling, how much I'm not enjoying this. But then over time, I started to get a little fitter with it. I stuck it out for quite a while, and I started to get fitter in terms of, I could do 5K without stopping at this point. And I thought as a big man, I was like, we'll document this, done a 5K type thing. And I just ended up progressively getting a little bit better and better at that, alongside documenting what I was doing as well.
Okay.
So it was a journey of like starting off running being crap, starting off the videography stuff being crap, and doing them both together over time consistently. I just started to get a little bit better until we started to get a little bit of traction on TikTok. And the first opportunity I had with a brand was what you did. Manchester Marathon.
No way.
With Adidas, yeah.
That's mental. So you did the exact... Was this 2023?
Yeah.
So you did the exact same thing as me, but a year prior.
Literally,
that's crazy.
Yeah. That's why it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's the same op. Because I remember seeing... That's how I found your content.
Yeah. That was my first bit of like running... Well, it wasn't the first bit of running content. It was the first bit of like race and okay, actually I want to really like refine the content down to this style, I guess.
How did you start off with the running stuff? Because I obviously saw when you were doing the Manchester training, but
so it was like November 2023. I was kind of like coming off the back end of a really like good gym routine. I started it in February of 2023. I was like 96 kg, and I was like, I want to just shed a load of weight. And because I had, I think I had like 8K followers or something from fellas on my Insta. I had a PT reach out to me and basically said like, oh, I'll give you a plan if you like document the process. And I was like, sick. Like, this is the first opportunity like that I've ever had. And I worked with him and I was like, right, I just want to lose weight. And I kind of didn't really document it too well, but I was doing daily vlogs like TikTok day in the life.
You're talking like weightlifting and stuff here, like
so like
gym.
like low weight, high rep, like
cool.
Calorie deficit, Stairmaster, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I was documenting my day in the life on TikTok, which getting quite good views. I'd post. This is how I gauge if it were good. So I'd post at about 9:30 in the night from the set that day, and then I would go to sleep, and if it was on 10K when I woke up, that was onto a good one.
So like a little bit of a marker.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you gauge if it's.
And so I did this for ages, bro, and I was like really, really consistent with it. And then I was trying to move it over to Instagram, and anyway, November 2023, I was starting to get back into my running, and I was like, I don't want to just do gym stuff, I want to do more cardio. And then I got Izzy into it, and I made a little series, like a 6-part series, getting her up to a 5K.
Yeah.
And we went to America and New York, and we did a 5K in New York.
Class.
And then that sort of like gained a bit of traction, and then Manchester Marathon, Adidas reached out in January, and they
How mad's that?
Off the back.
That is mad. How did you feel when that happened? I couldn't have been. I was so busy.
I remember exactly where I was. I was walking to work, and where our old office was in Hackney, and I was walking down Hackney. I literally, bro, I can see the moment. Like walking down Hackney Central. I'm trying to remember exactly. If you guys know Hackney, you'll know this bit where like Greg's. That sort of top section, Greg's, like there's like a Poundland or something, one of those shops there. And I remember looking at my phone. We were about to swerve into the coffee shop we always go into to grab a coffee. And I look at my phone. I was like, Adidas Manchester Marathon. I just clicked it. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
I was so gassed.
It's the craziest thing, wasn't it? Because I was at the time prior to that, my background is in marketing. So I worked at a media agency for 3 years, and then I moved on to a creative agency for 4 years prior to actually... Well, I mean, I started the content when I was obviously working full-time at the creative agency, but I knew the world of like influencer marketing and that kind of stuff, but didn't know, obviously never thought it would be something that would happen.
That you'd be on the other end of it?
Yeah, it was mad.
Yeah.
And then similar to you, when you got the email from Adidas, I was like, this is crazy, man. Because I used to adore Adidas as a brand. I worked at their factory outlet in Stockport.
Really?
For years.
Is that where you're from, Stockport?
Yeah, that's where I was born.
Yeah.
And it was a brand that I did part of my like uni thing. I did something on Adidas, like a dissertation, and I was obsessed with it, man. You know, like the old City Series trainers, like football heritage and that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the Gazelles and all the Dublins, Londons and
the
that.
Coppers.
Yeah, yeah. Used to collect them, man. Used to buzz off it. So when I got the opportunity with them, I was like, this is just different grade.
Yeah, it was mental as well, because I remember, and this is more of a, from a business perspective, I was fortunate that Izzy was had a manager at the time.
So could help.
So Izzy was like, let me speak to so James, he manages us both now. Let me speak to James and see like if there's any scope for you to get paid for this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nah, surely it's just like a place and kit. And they're like, yeah, we got budget. We can work something out. And I was like, that was mind blowing to me. Not only did I get offered a place for a race, I was like, this is so sick. I'm literally being asked to create content for something and being paid for it.
And was it a similar sort of thing? My one was like, I think it was the build up to the marathon from like Jan to April, like 6 videos or something like that.
Right.
Something like that. And it was a paid thing as well.
I think I ended up doing 3 reels and like TikToks or something, and then a YouTube video as well.
But the concept of being paid for it was just something that I was like, this is madness. Because up until that point, I hadn't actually thought of anything like brand stuff. I was just genuinely going out and documenting this journey with running just as a creative outlet on TikTok.
Your thing was called the Newbie Runner, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Newbie Runner. I started off on TikTok, and then similar to you, tried to transition it into Instagram and that. And TikTok, you still on TikTok now?
Yeah, it's my biggest platform, to be fair. I've got 90k on there. Yeah.
How do you find it?
I don't like it as much anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
I found that for a while, it was really weird because I've been through so many transitional periods on TikTok. I've posted so many different types of content.
Yeah.
I used to post, obviously, my day in the life, and then I moved to kind of whole green screen, like reaction content to stuff going on, just giving my take on things. And then just basically for a while, I used TikTok. It was so bad. I used it as just like a what's going to get likes and what's going to get views. And I remember me and my mates, we were playing darts and stuff, and we'd go on live and play darts with each other and things. And that, for some reason at the time, was doing crazy numbers.
Yeah.
And then when I started like the fitness stuff and moved more into that, that's when it really started becoming more niche down to fitness.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that you say that, because I've had a similar sort of experience. My Instagram, when I started doing the running content, was my photography page.
Oh, okay.
The landscape photography.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all still there, but you scroll back far enough, like 5 years ago, it was just pictures of landscape stuff. So I had the similar thing. I had a couple of thousand followers off the back of that. I never had any kind of opportunities with brands and stuff. But then transitioning that from a running page just randomly was a strange journey. And then obviously we've come however long down the line we are now, 3 years later, and it's transitioned more like more cycling now.
It's crazy though for you, especially because you've gone from someone who was almost creating these TikTok you're a very kind of just thought-based piece where you're sitting in your car giving your honest sort of unfiltered view on something, to now this highly engaging, curated, like high quality production. Yeah, and you've moved your page to that.
You know, I knew that would happen though, because it's the same with the photography thing. I have an obsessive personality with stuff like that. It's probably similar with you. I feel like I get stuck into these things so much where I need something all the time to pass time, to sink research into, to learn about. And photography was perfect, and videography is the same. Like I could sit on Premiere Pro color grading for 5 hours.
I haven't got that bug yet. I can't lie. It's the one thing about the editing that I want to look really good, but I just don't know how yet.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work it out. But the biggest thing I find, bro, is like it's the time.
Yeah.
And actually, I wanted to talk to you about this. So you were creating content for about 2 years, and then did you take it full time?
Yeah, pretty much. I went full time in December 2023. So it's been about a year and a half now.
Wow.
But obviously at the time, you're going to talk about how time, like balancing time, working full time and doing the content.
Talk to me about that then. So you really started to kick things off. Would you say the Manchester Marathon stuff was the thing where you really kind of the penny drop where you go, right, I can make content a job now?
Yeah.
And so you were working from spring to Christmas, balancing the two. How was that?
Yeah, I think it was a bit longer than that actually. But yeah, the point being, when I realised you could get paid for it, and I never had ambitions of, to be honest, making it a full-time thing. I wasn't sure if this was going to be just like a one-off thing. Yeah. But to the point of balancing working full-time with making the content, I think what is alarming, or like what is pretty surprising to most people, is the the sheer amount of time it takes to do even TikToks. Like when you're trying to sync a bit of production quality into it and things like that, it takes ages, man. Especially when you're starting out and you don't have like a set flow of how to actually do it, and you're figuring things out on the go. It became pretty, for me, I had to compromise loads of stuff. I quit FIFA. That's the biggest. I've taken it serious when I quit Ultimate Team, mate. I've not bought a FIFA since like 2023 now, I don't think.
Yeah.
Which is...
I'm probably on the same timeline, to be honest.
It's sad, but...
It is sad,
but
it's a chapter in your life closed.
Yeah, I felt it was necessary. And to be honest, I stopped going out as much and stopped like drinking and doing that sort of stuff. I'm lucky, got some good mates who not all into that.
Yeah.
They all go out and just get plastered on the weekends and that. They're pretty into their running and cycling and stuff like that. So I found that okay, but you basically had to compromise quite a lot of stuff in my life to be able to make time to work full time and then do the content to the level that I wanted to, and to like pursue where you wanted to go with it. Yeah. Because I feel like you do have to be a bit all, I don't want to be like this, like Goggins type, you have to be all in on it. But it does take a level of commitment to make it happen.
Well, this is the thing. I think so many people look at people on social media and go, oh, they've got lucky. They have one video that blew up and now it's their full-time job. But it's not really like that. The reason that your content does well is because it's so high. It's your content in particular is so highly produced, and it's so much thought that goes into every single second of it. That does take time, and that sinks a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's just learning to get to that point takes just a lot of like
trial and error.
Yeah. Literally, that is what I found with social media. It's trial and error. Pretty much when you're creating a bit of content, you're trying something new most of the time, especially when as your account's growing and you're just figuring out what style of content you want to be doing. Because there's so many different ways you can tell a story on social media. You can do like the speaking to camera stuff, voiceovers.
You've done a bit of that because you've kind of you've tried it all. It feels like in terms of speaking to camera, voiceovers. One thing you don't do as much. You did it for the first time the other week, which I thought was interesting. Is just like footage to music. And like there wasn't too much, you didn't have much storytelling in it. You just started it off, and then I think you captioned it something about testing your attention span or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the video I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, I've tried it all, to be honest. I think I used to, when I was starting off, I did the piece to camera stuff just because I felt it was a bit easier to, like, my view on it's changed now, but I thought it was a bit easier just because you'd be talking, like, you edit it in chronological order, you'd speak to the camera, you do whatever you're doing, you go back home, upload all the clips in chronological order, kind of like what you do for YouTube. Yeah. And then you're good to go on the video. Yeah. But I've learned, over time, I've lent more into like the voiceover stuff. I think at this point as well, when I've done it so many times now, I don't know how many videos I've made, I've got a little bit more of a flow to things, so it doesn't take me as long as when you're figuring out stuff like that, which you need, I think, at this point. Because I said as well, the thing that I think is actually the most difficult is just the consistency of it, just doing it all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like consistently posting the content. Because anyone can make one really sick video,
but it's then keeping it over time, week on week. Yeah. How did you find the balance then with full-time work?
Yeah, difficult, really difficult actually. I think
was your job quite high demand?
It was in an agency, so kind of Like I mean, it's all relative. I wasn't saving lives and that, but we had clients and stuff, so it can be in an agency. If you got clients, stuff needs doing. I'd work overtime only when I needed to. I wasn't someone I've never had a big like drive to show up dead early, graft dead hard in the job and leave. I didn't have like, the job didn't set my soul on fire type thing, do you know what I mean? But it was still quite demanding, just like average sort of office job.
And what was the moment where you realised that you were going to quit to go full time with your own content? Was there a particular video?
There was income had started to increase. I was getting a lot more opportunities that I had to turn down because of having the restrictions of having the 9 to 5. So events and stuff in the week, trips and stuff like that, I couldn't just get, because you'll know how it can be at this point. Sometimes you get opportunities at the last minute. Yeah. Like next week, can you come and do this? Can you come down here and do this? Or
you need to be flexible.
Yeah, proper. So I had to turn down quite a lot of opportunities when I was working full time because of the restrictions of the 9 to 5. But I was getting a lot of opportunity, which I saw as like if I was more flexible, I'd be able to earn a lot more money doing this sort of stuff. Yeah. And the budgets that I was being offered from the brands as my accounts grew were getting larger and larger, to the point where I had a really sick opportunity with sports director New Balance in November, I think the month before I quit. Basically, the reason why I quit was because this opportunity came up with Sports Direct and New Balance to go and run New York Marathon and Valencia Marathon over the space of 2 months. And it was a campaign similar to the Adidas thing.
Yeah.
Like it was a campaign spanning a couple of months, couple of videos, go and experience New York and Valencia. And I was paid, I don't know, 3 times. Yeah, about 3 months worth of my salary. So I decided at that point, I was like, if I accept this offer to go and do the marathons, at worst, if nothing else comes in, I've got 3 months worth of rent I can pay. Yeah. And bills and stuff like that. So I was like, there is actually no, like, I'm not going to get a better time to have a stab at it at least. And I think obviously you've just gone through the same thing. Yeah. Feels like such a massive step, quitting a stable job.
I don't know though. I think because it went on for so long for me.
Yeah.
And I was balancing the two for like consistently making content for a year.
Yeah.
And it was getting to the point where I was unable to give my full-time job the same attention that I once gave it.
Yeah.
And that's not me shitting on it and saying it didn't deserve as much of my attention. Like, realistically, though, you want to, out of fairness to the people that employ you and pay you, you want to be able to give everything you can for that job.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't know how much more of my time I can give it.
Yeah. That's totally fair. I think, but it was just one of them. I was like, I think you always wait for, the perfect opportunity will come up to go all in on it. That was going to be the perfect opportunity. There's not going to be nothing better than that.
But there also as well is no perfect opportunity.
No, that's what I mean.
But that is an actual perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it was.
It's interesting though. Did you have because I feel like when I like announced that I was leaving, although I purposely made sure that, so I handed in my notice end of Feb. And it didn't get announced to the viewers until the start of May. So I purposely wanted it to be like, I've gone. Yeah. I didn't want any time lingering or anything like that. But as soon as it was announced, the amount of people that commented saying obviously there was a lot of love and support, which was great. But the amount of people that commented saying things like who does he think he is, going on his own, he'll crash and burn, all this sort of stuff. But they're the people that just don't watch my content. I feel like for so long it was almost like I was living 2 different lives. I guess I've got the fellas life, which is to a completely different audience that know me as Proddy C, the producer, and then you've got all the people that follow me for my fitness content and my YouTube channel and stuff, which is Cal. They know me as the person that does fitness stuff.
Must be interesting that actually having not two personalities. Obviously that's a bit deep, but
kind of was though.
Two perceptions of what you are and who you know what I mean, who you are and what you're about, because obviously like you said, the fellas stuff on one side and then your own content on the other side.
And I think if I'm always kind of chopping and changing between the content that you're putting out, it does become a bit confusing.
Yeah.
So now I found that on my TikTok comments, I'm getting less and less people going, why is he just constantly posting about this? Or people know me to post certain things. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one. And I think obviously leaving the job just frees up so much time to the point where it's more because you've got more time, you can then invest more time into the content and whatever your pursuit is with that. And it's just like a great, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like a good thing, basically. Yeah, because you can invest more into it and you get more out of it eventually. You
get more return. And I think the one thing that has been a bit of a wake-up call for me has been I automatically assumed, so I was in the office Monday to Thursday every day, and I was in a controlled environment where no distractions, I'd get on with my work, I had no outside life admin getting in the way, all of this stuff, just complete focus on my job.
Yeah.
When you leave that, you expect to have that same focus and time, but back home. Because you were originally not exposed to life admin stuff and all of these sorts of things, you just expect when you go home, to when you leave your job and you go home to work full time on your own stuff, that same amount of time will be there. But I find my time shrinks so much when I'm at home because there's so many other things in the day that I should have been doing when I was in the office that I'm now able to do, but it's just made my day smaller anyway. Life admin, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, and the life admin that comes with being self-employed as well.
Yeah.
Obviously is a big time sink, and obviously the things we've chosen to do are heavily based around training and stuff, which is, again, very time-consuming stuff, which is obviously such a privilege to be able to go out in the morning and do a ride and then start your working day after that. So like from my working, I don't know what you're doing routine-wise. I don't have a routine. Mine is just so like
I'm trying to find it. I'm only like, a month in?
Yeah.
And one of those weeks I was away, and then one of those weeks was my first week. And then I was trying to organise, like, you know, new podcast space and stuff like that. So a lot of it has been kind of transitional. And I feel like now this week is my first week because the first episode comes out this Thursday of the new podcast. And I feel like from that moment, I will now be in my structure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So my YouTube vlogs go out on a Sunday night, podcast goes out on a Thursday, and it kind of just all works in tandem that way.
Yeah, nice. I noticed you got the schedule with the YouTube stuff. I've not done that.
But I think it's different for you though because your content isn't like a vlog.
It's a continuous series like yours is, Road to the Iron Man stuff now.
It's like a weekly update on it.
Yeah. Makes sense. More like week in a life type.
But your YouTube content has been a huge inspiration though, mate. Like it's great to see. And I know for a lot of people your content has been.
Yeah,
and it's really cool. It's you're doing your thing, man, and it's cool. So when you first started YouTube, how did that come about and what was your decision?
So the first YouTube video I did was the Valencia Marathon. So I'd quit the job because at the time I couldn't see a world where I was doing YouTube and Instagram and the job, basically. So when I did quit, that was when I was like, right, I have no excuse not to dip my toes into YouTube and stuff now. It's a platform that is by far my preferred to consume. I watch so much YouTube. I learn so much on YouTube. That's where I get all my inspiration for like editing and how I learn to edit, color grade, photography, pretty much everything's from YouTube. So to be able to make my own channel, I thought it's going to be the move, especially because, like I said, I like the more cinematic and arty type of content as well. And I think YouTube is king when it comes to that type of thing. You can only do so much on Instagram. Yeah. As you'll know as well, doing YouTube, you can let stuff breathe, man.
Yeah.
You can just
residual views.
Yeah, man. And you just like, I mean, literally just like in terms of speaking, I can just like breathe a little bit. You don't have to chop and cut everything.
I do chop and cut everything though, because I'm like, Instagram. Sometimes I'll find that if I'm talking to the camera, I put myself in the viewer and I just kind of don't want to give you a reason to click off.
Yeah, the waffle.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you cut the little bits of air out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. I just thought, you know what, let's have a dabble at YouTube, try and get a bit more, something new to learn. To be honest, something new to get stuck into. And the same story again, just when you started YouTube, even though I've been doing Instagram and TikTok for a long time, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like trying to learn a way to do YouTube that you were happy with was like very difficult. Like, my first YouTube videos were so shite. Honestly, I look back now and I cringe at stuff like that.
Yeah, I cringe at my Manchester Marathon video. It was like, it wasn't the way it was edited. It was the direction that I gave the editor with it. Like he's a sick editor, but I was like to him, can you do this, this, and this, and use this music for here? It's like, why am I trying to be like fucking Mr. Beast, bro?
If you look back on what you were creating 6 months ago and you're cringing, I think it shows that you've grown as well
as a creator.
Literally. And I hope at some point I will stop cringing when I look back at my old stuff, but it's not quite there.
No. So in terms of YouTube, in terms of content, I feel like you're best placed to kind of give this thought. Who do you think is leading the way in terms of sort of trailblazing with content creation around the fitness space? Because there's so many brilliant creators, whether it be from an entrepreneurial perspective with someone like Marcus Million, with Minted New York, the way he's documenting his business, or it's someone, let's say Average Rob, who makes these cinematic masterpieces. Like, who would you say your top three in the space right now?
So funny you say that, on the train down here, I was watching the Average Rob, the Marathon des Sables thing.
I haven't watched it yet.
That feels like a step into something totally new, because it's like, it's not just him doing a video on YouTube.
No.
It's YouTube backing it. It's like a documentary.
YouTube supported it, didn't they?
I'm pretty certain they have, yeah. Like, I don't know how they have supported it, be it financial or the production side of things, but it's a 2-hour YouTube documentary that would be fit for Netflix. And I think the stuff Average Rob does, just crazy though. Like, such a sick guy to watch as well, just because of the notion that he's just an average athlete as well. And it's something that I think I resonate with so much as well.
Yeah, your whole thing of professional, amateur.
Yeah, and I think it's something that, well, I mean, majority of people are that.
Yeah.
So I think it's great, but the access and stuff he gets, bring in just like everyday people like him, accessing athletes like Matteo van der Poel. I know he's done a couple of videos with him. I know they've done loads of videos with other like pro athletes. I think it's just like it's just refreshing, like to see the behind the scenes of the pro athletes and what they're like a little less formally compared to just off the TV. And you can't, it's only like YouTube and documentaries and stuff that you can get that kind of, you know, like behind the scenes look at what these people are like.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty trailblazing.
It's also very interesting how you'll see this space now that's been sort of like forged by content creators.
Yeah.
Someone like Average Rob, like yourself, let's say. And then you've got the professional athletes who are now adopting that style of content to document their journey and their career.
But basically, Remco Evenepoel he's a world tour rider.
Is he the one you met up with?
No. He's a Belgian guy for Soudal Quickstep.
Did he do that fucking cold picture with his bike when he won?
Yeah, that's him, the double Olympic champ.
It's unreal.
He does videos on YouTube. Obviously, he's got a team around him, like producing it. It's serious level stuff. But he basically just, like, one of the ones I watched of him is he goes on a 7-hour bike ride, what he eats in a day, what he eats on a 7-hour bike ride. And the Don's just there, like, stopping at the petrol station with the Fanta Limons, the Haribo and stuff like that, and just seeing, I just think it's sick. Like, you can't, like, YouTube for me is just the best one when it comes to the content, because you get such an in-depth insight into what these people are like. And you'd think someone who's a double Olympic champ is going to be on some, like, special diet and that, but he's just sat outside the Repsol garage eating Haribo Tang Fastics. It's like,
yeah, that's jokes.
This is sick, man.
No, it's cool because obviously, like as you said, you kind of normalize people that you like look up to almost.
Yeah, and I love that they're doing it as well. But like, I don't know why they feel the need that they have to. Like, I don't think Remco Evenepoel, for example, needs any money from YouTube or any more brand deals. He's like double Olympic champ, like one of the third best riders, like in this current generation of cyclists. So I don't know why he needs to do it, but it's good that he does. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
I mean, I'm sure there's other athletes as well, just going blank on it, but
Alex Yee documented his London Marathon series. That was cool. Watched the final part last night. It was sick.
Yeah, I've not watched that. I need to watch that one. I watched all the build-up ones.
Yeah.
He's a bit late with that, you know.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe he gave his team a holiday. No, but I'm trying to think of who other people. I mean, as I said, I love mid to New York stuff. Yeah. I think it's so cool. I love the way that he's kind of tastefully going about showing what it's like to be a business owner.
It's transparent as well.
It's very transparent. Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a big thing of that now with like business owners documenting the raw, not polished side of growing the business, because obviously, you know, I'm not a business owner, but I imagine it's hella stressful, and I imagine a lot of stuff goes wrong, especially when you're dipping your toes in for the first time. Even like the salt, like
yeah, they've been great.
Just the stuff they're doing is pretty original in terms of the brand. But Marcus and is it Sean, his brother?
Yeah.
That's cool geezers.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, they're sick runners as well, which adds another layer.
Yeah.
It's cool when people take that and you kind of, George Heaton with Represents doing it as well. He's like taking this whole thing of following his life and his interest in fitness and how he has this crazy, like dialed in fitness lifestyle, but then also building this like empire at Rep.
Ross at Cadence as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
All them Donnies doing very similar things. It's for sure. Cool, isn't it?
I also really like the whole thing now of these creator-led kind of groups as well.
Yeah.
You like the UVU guys, they have like a really strong, recognizable team, it feels like. Same with Rep, obviously. And I think that's going to be the future for sure with brands taking creators that they're affiliated with and almost making like a content team, I guess, that you can kind of become affiliated with and follow the journey of.
You see a lot of people trying to imitate that as well, especially UVU.
Yeah.
When they came about, like every brand just copied it.
Everyone did. Yeah. It is insane. And also copycats are a great sort of sign of flattery as well. Like you've had so many people rip your content. I know you're not going to sit here and talk about that too much, but like I imagine you're sometimes scrolling through your Instagram feed and seeing someone's content, and it's almost like sometimes, bro, I've heard them use the same music.
It's not it doesn't happen that often. The only one where it's really happened is that professional amateur video. I've had people just word for word.
Wait, so what actually happened? Did they just take the entire voiceover?
So I've seen quite a few. No, they just made their own. So I've seen one guy. Well, I've seen a couple of people do it. I get tagged in it by people on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. And it was so the professional amateur video, basically just me talking about being average at stuff, but trying really hard.
But it went super viral, didn't it? It's got like a mil views.
One of my best ones, and I've seen people did it in like word for word, just in Spanish. Some Spanish Donny did it, and some French guy did the same thing, just word for word, same song and stuff. And then someone did it. See, what's quite interesting is I don't mind when it's inspiration for someone else to do something with it, like do their own little twist on it or something. But the people that were doing it, some guy did it on like a tennis account, just word for word, just swapped running and cycling for tennis.
What?
Like,
so same script?
Yeah, same script, same song, same way they sort of edited the actual video. Like the way I did it to begin with the opener is like loads, like a flash of, 100 clips or something just within a second. And it's like it's like a nice transition type thing. They did that just word for word basically. And it's not inspiration at that point. No. When it's just word for word. I think
if you have copied it, I think you just own that you've copied it and you put it in the caption saying, by the way, Dan Jones literally made this exact video.
Yeah, just I think, to be honest, it bothered me at the time, but I think if you of the mindset of just nicking people's content, you're not going to get too far with it, I don't think. No. But I would hope you wouldn't anyway, because I hope people would know that it's from other people. For sure.
And obviously, content-wise, a big part of your content now is cycling.
Oh, yes.
The transition from running to cycling, how did that all come about?
So, I got the first bike, when was it now? I think it was maybe like this time 2 years ago. I got a gravel bike. I think it was because I was injured, actually, from running. So I picked up the gravel bike. I love the idea of getting out off-road on the bike. Despise the idea of getting on the road and like being surrounded by cars and stuff. And prior to that point, I'd always thought cycling was just a gimpy sport, not gonna lie. Obviously, I
used to be of the same thought.
Obviously, I was dead cool, sat on FIFA and drinking and that. Obviously, that was so cool. And cycling were just like, not for me at the time. But then I started going out off-road. Gravel cycling was like, still is, I guess you say, having like a bit of a moment. It's the cool thing to do in cycling. It feels loads of big events popping up, loads of cool people doing it. So I thought, go gravel. That's going to be a bit of me. Did that for a while. Started to get more confident on the bike. Similar to what you said, though, just so weak. Like I thought I was decent on the run.
I thought my fitness from running would translate easier
it's interesting.
To cycling.
Starting out, it doesn't really work like that.
No.
I remember I felt really weak on the bike to begin with, but then as I grew, got more confident on it, I was still prioritising my running, so I never really did a lot of cycling. So I just sort of sat at this constant level of being pretty shit at it, but I enjoyed it more than the running. I had committed all to things like the marathons and stuff, so when you was marathon training, the bike just gathered dust. And then eventually after the Honolulu marathon I did, which was the last one we did with Runner in December of 2024.
It was a bit of a scarring experience, wasn't
it? Oh, God, man. Honest to God. That put me off running seriously, big time for a while.
Why was it so bad?
Because I didn't train properly.
Okay, well, there we go.
And this was the thing. It wasn't through lack of desire at that point. It was because I fell ill. So I missed 3 weeks of peak training. Yeah. And if you're missing a 30k, a 32 and a 30, maybe another 32k run in 3 weeks, you're in the mud.
Yeah, that's not going to bode well.
Yeah, no. So I went into it in pretty bad shape, if we're honest. And obviously then, even if it was good conditions, it would have been a nightmare. But because it was so the heat, mate, the humidity and stuff out there, I've never experienced anything like it. It was just a disaster.
Didn't you have to start at like 4 a.m. or something?
Yeah, you have to start. I think it kicks off at 5 a.m. So it's incredible experience as well. Don't get it twisted. It was so sick.
Yeah.
To be able to do stuff like that. But just the run, man. So tough. Honestly, it took me about 4 hours, 40 something minutes. It was my slowest marathon, even though I'd been running now for the longest time. And I just, after that, I was like, I'm going to have to, I can't do this.
Nip this in the bud.
I can't be doing this marathon stuff, because I had an opportunity to go to Osaka in Feb.
Oh, yeah.
To do the marathon there. And I'd kind of committed to that.
Who was that with?
Mizuno Sports Shoes.
Oh, yeah.
So I said I'd do that, which I was all for as well. But after that Honolulu thing, I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't, because it was 2 months after as well. So
exactly, yes. You would have had to go straight into another block, pretty much.
I wasn't going to gain much shape either, so it was going to be another struggle fest, which I just didn't want. So I decided instead to just, I enjoyed the bike. I've never really given it a proper shot because of the running, that's always taken priority. Let's go for the bike this year. 2025, year of the bike. And I've been donning it proper since, and I love it, mate. I love it. Every, I don't know how it is for you. Obviously, people are mad about running and stuff. Most of the runs I didn't enjoy.
No.
It's more like the thing I enjoyed about running and what got me hooked on it was the progress you see off the back of putting in the shifts for a couple of months.
I'm completely with you. But there is an element of me that really enjoys the speed sessions and the intervals. Yeah. But I don't I still don't like the easy runs when I'm on my own. Like yesterday I did 11K easy on my own, hour of running.
Yeah, it's just tough.
It's just a bit monotonous sometimes.
Yeah, that's it, monotonous. And the bike, I can go out on the bike by myself for 40K, for 100K, and I enjoy, 95% of the rides. I literally love it, mate, yeah. Wow. Whereas the easy runs and stuff, like you said, I might enjoy 15% of the runs I do. The rest is just, as part of the pursuit of getting a sub 4 marathon or whatever it is you're aiming for at the time. So when I stepped away from the running stuff, Runner were the only running brand I was working with at the time. So the majority, the others were like Garmin, Van Rysel. So I didn't need to do any running basically at that point, and I started pursuing this thing of cycling and working with more cycling brands and getting partnerships more in that space, and that's been going really well so far, really well.
You're someone that's paid really close attention to building good relationships with brands as a creator. What's the kind of main bit of advice you'd give to people who are looking to expand their sort of relationships with brands and kind of build that sort of long term?
Yeah, so I think I set out, when I went full time with it, my ambition was always to have longer partnerships with brands, so you've got stability, because I'm someone that I feel like I'd stress a lot about finances if I didn't have some kind of constant stream of income. So I set about getting long-term partnerships. At the minute, we've got Garmin, Ford, Van Rysel, Rafa. Who else?
Runner?
Not anymore.
No. But I mean, do you still work with Runner as a
I work with Runner, but I did sign again with Runner, but because, like I said, after the marathon and wanting to go all in on the cycling, I spoke to them, and obviously they're such a sick bunch of people. They just let me sort of can the contracts, so I'm not paid on a retainer anymore.
Okay, cool. Were you on a retainer for a while?
Runner OG partner. They were the first people who I worked with, first brand that sort of backed us long term, which was class. But in terms of advice, I'd say to people, one of the things, basically the way I went about them, incredibly fortunate for the most part that the brands have reached out to me at this point. So you don't have to, obviously if a brand's reaching out, there's intent to work with you there, which is a big benefit.
For sure.
But prior to that, when I was reaching out to brands myself, I made a media kit. So basically just, keep it short and sweet, 3 slides, whatever you want to be, 3 pages of a document that's just an intro into you and what you're about, what your mission is with the content. So for me, it was inspiring people to give cycling and running a go of all abilities and that kind of thing, so the brand can sort of get behind what you're about, some examples of the content.
Absolutely.
And then just your demographics, your audience insights from the social platforms themselves, so they know who you're speaking to. And then I would reach out to the brands via just like an email that I would gather from Instagram. Or sometimes I go on LinkedIn and do a bit of deep diving if needs be to try and reach the right person. And then I'd reach out with some kind of proposal, really, for the most part. I think one of the things that I did, for example, with the Zelam Say Ironman 70.3, I created like a deck of a proposal, just of sort of, so this is what I'm planning to do. I want to deliver, I want to do 3 months documenting my journey, training up to the Ironman. Here's how your brands could be integrated into that. It was running shoes, Saucony, Zone 3 wetsuit and stuff like that. And then basically just pitch them the idea that, would you like to be involved in this? Here's the sort of exposure that I would hope to get off the back of the content. And in return, here's what I'm asking for, like a fee and kit support, basically. So I feel like the best bet is to go to someone with a proposal and an idea of what you want to do. Because you've got to remember as well, people, obviously I did it myself, working brand side, and that people don't have bare time. No. People don't care. People just want something.
You're not
special. People just want something digestible. And if you can do the work for them, it makes life a lot easier for them. And they're more likely to say yes than if they have to go away and then think of how they want to work with you in that. So I'll do that quite a lot.
I actually did the exact same thing for my Luxembourg Ironman. My manager made a deck, and we kind of went back and forth and created like something that we felt that sort of exemplified the project well, and changed different bits for different brands. So like if it was for a bike brand or for a shoe brand or whatever, we'd do it that way. It's a really, really handy thing to do, because as you said, if you're giving them a reason to like not work with you, then they're going to choose that. You kind of want to make it as easy as possible.
Obviously, I've been pied bare times, like especially when the account was small and reaching out to brands with proposals and stuff. They don't give a shit.
No.
Like, don't care at all. Obviously, it changes when it does. Like, the reality is, it does change. It helps when you have a presence on social and an account that can get eyeballs. That's just the reality of it. That's ultimately what the brands want: eyeballs on their brand and the content and stuff like that. So it does help naturally. The bigger your account grows, the more opportunities and the more doors get opened. But starting out, you can still pitch to smaller brands. You just have to bat within your own sort of size. Do you know what I mean? Don't can't be reaching out to the world's biggest brands. If you've got an account with 1,000 followers, unfortunately, that's just how it is most of the time. It's not likely to work. But smaller brands, first brand I worked with was a brand called Acid Running.
I know them,
yeah. It's like a little London-based, I think they're London-based. I just reached out saying, like, can I take some pictures of the kit? And they sent over the kit. I took some pictures. Like, now I'm an influencer.
Yeah. In terms of cycling, I feel like running has this transitional thing where we're moving from running being uncool 10 years ago to now incredibly cool. Cycling, I feel, wasn't ever growing up for me. I never looked at it and go, that's really cool. I feel like cycling now is becoming cool. What's the kind of transition between the old wave and the new wave? Is there any kind of rebuttal?
Yeah, I think obviously you have to bear. I'm speaking from this as a guy who's been doing it 2 years, so I'm still, relative newbie. I've not been cycling my whole life. But I think all you have to do to realise how cycling's come on is look at the peloton in the World Tour 10 years ago to now. They look very different. There's no like stylised kit, so to speak. It's like baggy kit. The helmets are strange, and it's probably like a pretty nostalgic period in cycling for a lot of people. But compared to now, where it's like the slim fitting, form fitting, tight jerseys, fashion cycling brands like MAP and Rafa are in the peloton now. I don't believe anyone like that was in the peloton 10, 15 years ago.
So when you say the peloton, this is the front pack of the main
just
tour,
like
isn't it?
in professional racing, like the big group of riders, just the main World Tour teams and stuff like that, basically. So Tadej Pogacar's and the team that are riding the big races and stuff, it's changed quite a lot from what I can tell. But I do think as well, it is having a bit of a moment. I think when I got into cycling, from the people I spoke to, the industry was in the bin. Like after COVID, I think there was a big boom in cycling. So all the brands and bike manufacturers got loads of product, and then to match the demand of COVID. And then after COVID, the demand just fell through the floor.
Someone told me this.
So bike brands were left with bare excess stock. that they were trying to shift, and it sort of like muddied the industry for a little bit.
Wow. Is it so everyone was buying bikes during COVID?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, apparently.
Wow.
So a lot of people were getting into cycling. The manufacturers wanted to meet the demands, hauled in loads of stock. Demand dropped after COVID. They're left with loads of bikes that no one wants. So big sales and stuff went on. Couldn't get rid of the bikes quick enough, and it's been a bit of a stain, I think, on the industry from what I can tell.
So do you think we're at the start now of a period which will really, really improve?
It's difficult, because the main thing with cycling that isn't great is the barrier to entry is just crazy. Like, not even just financially. Obviously, you have to sink at least a few £100 into getting a bike for the most part, and the kit and the stuff required, helmets and that.
I can't believe how expensive it all is, mate, honestly. Yeah. And when I was at Blenheim Palace Triathlon, I was just like looking around, and I just thought, this is genuinely just such an inaccessible sport.
Yeah.
And like that, I don't mean this in like it's a shit sport. Like, I found it so enjoyable, and training for triathlon stuff is really fun.
Talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, but it's such a kind of hard one to financially sort of sink your teeth into, because for me, I'm in a fortunate position where I had savings for a while, and I knew this was coming, so I was able to save for a bike and all of this sort of stuff. If you're someone that wants to give it a go, you really can't unless you do have a good bit of cash behind you.
It's really tough. When I was in the full-time job and that, I had limited savings, not much disposable income. I sunk £500 onto a bike on the sale from one of the retailers, and that £500, that killed me. At the time, I was like, I cannot be affording this.
And there was a story with
that
bike.
Nicked. The day I got it, I rode it into Manchester, buzzing like a little kid on this bike just to get out on it. I locked it up, went for a brew. I came back and the bike had gone. It killed me.
Mate, I don't know honestly, how I would have reacted.
I was nearly crying, mate. I went on like fucking investigator Dan Jones mode. I started going around all the stores and stuff and asking for the camera footage and that. And we saw that the geezer who'd done it basically had got like an angle grinder.
Right.
So like a mini portable angle grinder. It's obviously like an organised thing that he does quite a bit. The lock had been gone. Like, he cut it in about 2 seconds, off with it, never to be seen again. And
so was it quite like, it was £500, but was it a really nice looking bike?
It was Cannondale Topstone 4, so like an entry level gravel bike. It looked, at the time, I was like, this is beautiful. This is such a sick bike. But it just hurt so much. Cause it was one of them purchases that I shouldn't have done. But I was like...
But then the butterfly effect.
Well, yeah, then I had to go home, fucking sulk for a bit. And then the next week I went out and bought another. And I was like, because this has got to do this. And I can't have £500 just pissed away. I've got to have £1,000. But now at least I've got a bike.
Yeah.
And then it's worked out okay now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, man. But it's not even just the financial barrier of cycling, it's the skill, like the knowledge barrier. Learning to ride the bike, learning to ride on the roads safely and comfortably, and that it's a tough one.
So I feel like this could be quite niche for a lot of listeners, but also could be quite interesting for a lot of listeners. Your relationship with Van Rysel, how did that come about? What was the initial proposal there?
So what I was learning when I was trying to get a bike sponsor was, this is where I was talking about the bike industry struggling.
Yeah.
Bike brands, slim budgets compared to running, because obviously running's booming and brands had a lot more, like, deeper pockets in running. So trying to work with cycling brands I found extremely challenging. Even, pitching stuff to them and stuff, it's just very difficult.
I got so many no's.
Yeah, it's well hard. Like, it's hard just to get a bike, let alone get like an actual sponsored gig with the brand.
Yeah.
So I had, at the time, I was working with Sigma Sports. They had no budget, so it was just a product thing at the time. But as I was getting into cycling, I thought, kit and stuff.
When you say product, so it's like kit, helmets, all that sort of
stuff?
Yeah,
kit, helmets and shoes and all that sort of stuff. And they sorted a bike with Specialized, and that was just like, they would give me the bike for free. I'd get to ride the bike. I can't remember if there was actual deliverables. I don't think there was a contract or anything, but there was no money involved.
No.
And I'd gone full time. I wanted to get more into cycling stuff, so I needed money. I needed the sponsorship, basically. And then I had an opportunity with Van Rysel, sort of landed in my DMs.
Sick.
Which I couldn't quite believe, to be honest. They said a new bike brand, it was from an agency, a new bike brand that's sort of just gone into the world tour. They'd started sponsoring a proper world tour team. They are making a bit of a move in the UK. Would you like to sort of work with them? And then obviously asked a bit more about it. They wouldn't tell me who it was at the time, but I put 2 and 2 together because I just realised that Van Rijssel started sponsoring Decathlon AG2R, who are their world tour team. And I was like, it's got to be Van Rijssel. And I started looking at the bikes, and it's a funny one with Van Rijssel because they're Decathlon owned, so
it's like a Triben. Like
yeah. Obviously, incredible entry level bikes in terms of value, but I think that reputation of being, I don't want to say value retailer, but like on the budget end of things, tarnishes a little bit their top end bikes,
right?
Because of the association, which is why they started Van Rijssel, I think, to sort of try and separate from the Triban and stuff, purely like a perception thing. But the bikes is like an incredible bike. It's such a good bike, and that's backed by the World Tour lot. They've had 2 really successful years winning bike races at the top level. Their team have, and I was like, this bike, I'm gonna have to go for this bike, I think. And I went down and had a try, even though I was like, any bike at the time would have been good for me. Any bike would have been good for me because I was riding something that wasn't that great, to be honest. So I'd have taken any bike. But then I went down and had a try on it, a ride on it, and proposed a year sponsorship basically off the back of that.
Sick.
Where you get paid the retainer each month and get to ride the bike.
Mate.
I couldn't believe it.
Absolute touch.
This is just...
But your hard work got you there,
stuff.
and your intuition. So that's the thing.
Yeah, and obviously just do need a bit of luck, to be honest.
Absolutely,
but you need to keep posting, and you're getting the feed of the people who are deciding this sort of thing. That's all it is, really. Someone from Van Rijssel saw a video that I did. Yeah. And it ended up working out pretty well.
So triathlon. We just both completed the Blenheim Palace Tri.
Yeah.
How did you find it? Did you enjoy it?
I, in hindsight, loved it. I underestimated it so badly.
Really?
Honestly. Because I'd done the 70.3, I'd done the Olympic distance. This was the shortest one I'd ever done. And I figured a 750 metre swim, I'd breeze that.
Did you train
No.
Did you do any swimming?
No.
When was your last swim?
I did a swim last week, but that was my first one in like 10 months since the Ironman. So this is where I went badly wrong and learnt a big lesson that you cannot wing the swim.
No.
750 metres might not sound long on paper, especially if you've done longer, but open water swimming is a different beast.
For sure.
How did you find it when you dip your head in? Because from my side, I always struggle with acclimatisation. I dip my head in and I gasp for air, and I cannot put my head under the water and breathe properly. So I was flapping about.
So it's interesting. So when I got in the water, I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, this feels unreal. And I was just overtaking everyone. And I just found my way to the front. And then I would say probably like 150 metres in, I was like, okay, I'm in now. There is like no going back.
Yeah.
And then like tight chest started, and I was kind of having like, I was teetering on the edge of a panic attack.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then I just got into my flow. I was fine. My feet were cold, but I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I just kept going straight. And I was really struggling with spotting. So that's the one thing that I've not learned. I don't know how to spot. So I was like, people who are listening, spotting is when you shift your view, your like vision when you're breathing to look forward on the course. You don't miss the course or like crash into something.
It's funny because naturally when I'm crap at it as well, I was just veering off to the left. I was
going off to the right. So when there was this long straight passage, and as you were because I was kind of autopiloting for so long, straight down that main open water stretch, once it started turning, as you got to the end of the buoy, I was going straight into a kayak, and I had my earplugs in because I get water in my ears so badly. Yeah. Guy just shouting at me who was in the kayak, and then it got closer and closer because I was getting nearer to him, and then I was like, oh shit, sorry mate, then veered back onto the course. But I probably lost like 20 seconds because of that, which is so annoying.
But your time, tell
yeah, no, let me pull it up. I think we got 12 minutes something.
Crazy.
So it averaged out, I think it was a 148 over 100.
That's
which I was really happy with. But I also feel like I could have gone so much quicker. I definitely wasn't full leathering.
That's great. But I also think as well, it's interesting, the panic stuff. Bare people panic is like actually a pretty common thing.
I think it's going to be so much more intimidating on the actual Ironman though. Yeah. Because it's like 1.8k down a river.
Yeah. It will be. And I found people of the Blenheim Palace participants were a lot kinder than the Ironman ones.
Really?
Them dons will just be kicking you and shit like that.
I've heard this.
They won't give a shit.
Yeah.
People kick you and they don't even... Like, I kick someone, I'd actually apologise in the water.
Yeah,
I'd be like, sorry. But these guys just kick you in the head and it's like, what the fuck?
You were saying to me you doggy paddled at one stage.
Yeah, I was panicking. For the listeners, what was my time? Like 16:39, so like 4 minutes slower than Cal. I had a nightmare, man. I really did. I think the big thing for me was just the breathing. I couldn't breaststroke properly because I couldn't even put my head in the water.
So you didn't do front crawl, you were breaststroking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to have done front crawl. In a pool environment, I can front crawl 750 meters, but in the environment of open water surrounded by people, it puts me off. It's not an environment I feel remotely comfortable in. I'm on edge all the time when I'm in the water like that in that situation. So I got in. I knew it was going to be cold. I've done it before. My breath goes. I take it, I'm swallowing water. I am uncomfortable, similar to you, like on the genuinely teetering on panic attack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just calm down, calm your breathing and stuff. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't get enough oxygen in my lungs because I was, like just panicking. And then obviously when I'm trying to do that, trying to swim whilst under them circumstances, I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to take a minute here and just doggy paddle. Doggy paddling, mate. Head out the water. Must have been pulling like 3 minutes per 100 meters. It was.
But you got it done.
Good.
You got it done.
Yeah, I got it done, and it was the worst swim I've had. Like,
when you did the half Ironman, what was the split time?
1:49 or something.
Okay, pretty good.
So I could swim. Still uneasy in that, but getting out of the water at Blenheim, again, because I underestimated it, I thought it'd be easy. I got out of the water, I was dazed, I was flustered, like I felt horrible.
Really?
And then obviously I had to run up that hill.
Mate,
my heart
awful.
rate is pinging.
So for those, obviously, a lot of people
Yeah.
won't know what this is. So the T1, transition 1 from swim to bike, is essentially a 700 meter run from up a hill, from the bank of like a river, open water, to the sort of palace ground where our bikes were parked. And it was so tough.
Yeah.
It took me 7 minutes 40 or something, that transition.
That is the toughest transition though, isn't it? For people who aren't aware what you have to do at that point. You have to strip your wetsuit off, which is difficult in and of itself. You have to dry off. You have to put your socks and that on, your cycling shoes, sort all your bike stuff out. It is a bit faffy. I think I was about 20 seconds quicker than you, but
Yeah.
I got on the bike, mate, and I was hoping to absolutely blitz it, but I felt off.
Yeah.
I just felt a bit dazed to begin with because I was just in a panic state.
I know what you
out
mean.
of the
I did feel a
water.
bit dazed as well. And for those moments at the start of the course where you fly out the gates and there's loads of people there, then there's that big hill.
Yeah.
I hated that.
It was tough
Absolutely
to go
hated
up.
that.
I found them hills really quite arduous, actually. Even, like it's a tiny hill relative to the stuff I'm used to riding, but I think the breaststroking just stripped my legs. Honestly do. I think that's why so many people opt for freestyle and that it's less heavy on the legs because you're just kicking every now and again. It's mainly your upper body in it and your arms. Whereas I was like basically like squatting in the water for.
How quickly did you do your cycle leg?
The cycle leg was 35 minutes in the end.
That's unreal. That's almost 10 minutes quicker than me. That's sensational.
But I've done a lot more cycling.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
That was the only saving grace because otherwise it would have been a pretty tragic time.
Yeah, what was the wave you were in like? Were you passing lots of people on the bike?
On the bike, yeah. So I came out the swim. I think I did like, honestly, must have been like bottom 5% or bottom 10% on the day. I was having a look. And then on the bike, went past everyone. No one, I don't think anyone came past me on the bike, which was good for morale because I was just trying to claw back some dignity after the swim, basically. And then similar story on the run again. Dying of death, getting people that I passed on the bike coming by me like Usain Bolt, mate. It was
so humbling though, the run for me, because I was like, this is the thing I should be most confident with.
Still put down a good one though. It
was all right. Like, I was wanting to try and like get close to a 20-minute 5K.
Was it more just how you felt?
Yeah, like my cardio was so good. I was like running in like zone 2, like zone 3.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had so much more in me, but I couldn't do it.
The cumulative fatigue.
Yeah.
Even over the short stuff. I think where I underestimated was it's shorter, so on paper it looks nice. And if you're going for completion, it's, relatively easy depending on your fitness abilities and stuff like that. But it's not just that we're going, it's intense. Like it's an intense level of activity compared to that of the 70.3. I remember on the 70.3 on the bike, I was chilling for most of it. I was chilling. Whereas obviously I was going for it yesterday at Blenheim because it's a shorter distance. So your output, it's like VO2 max stuff in it. It's not like chill zone 2. Yeah. So it proper like does strip you because your heart rate's so high.
I feel like this is where I'm being a bit less educated about the cycle stuff. I don't know like when to push and when to not. Yeah. And how to conserve on different points, because I'm always of the opinion that hills are going to be hard for me at this stage, like very, very hard for me. Flats, I kind of want to regain the kind of energy that I lost. Yeah. And then downhills, again, same sort of thing. So I felt like I really wasn't maximizing the flats and the downhills because I wanted to conserve energy from when I had to deal with those hills.
Yeah. How hilly is the course you're doing?
So I'll show you the graph, bro. It's actually a bit mental. So it's flat for the first 20k, and then there's some spicy hills. I say spicy, but yeah, it's 900 total meters.
Yes, that's a bit of a killer. That's similar. The one we did in Zellamsey was 1,000 meters, just up, majority up one climb. So I imagine it's maybe similar, or is yours a bit more rolling?
Yeah, I'll show you. It says it's rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, they always lie about that. Mine was rolling, but it was just up one mountain.
The run's flat, though. There's only like 1 meter of elevation.
That'd be okay. 1 meter?
Yeah, it's like along a river and back.
Yeah. But I think in terms of like energy conservation and that on the bike, I don't know, mate. I normally just go off heart rate or power. Yeah. I know at this point, having done it for a while, where I can sort of sit comfortably and for how long. So if it's, I knew it was going to be like a 35, 40-minute effort yesterday. So I had a power in mind that I knew I could hold. I came in well below that because of how much the swim put me away. But I knew roughly what I could hold for a period of time. And that would be the same if I'm doing the 70.3. The bike leg, for however long it's going to be, 3 hours, I know roughly what I could hold. And I would always try and chill on the downhills.
Here we go. I've got it. So I'll get it up on screen for the viewers.
Yeah, similar sort of things. You go up. It's a big climb, that.
Yeah.
As in, like, quite a long climb. That'll be good. That'll be fun.
So, for those listening, it looks like there is about a 20-kilometre climb, would you say?
Yeah.
Yes, that's great.
In Luxembourg, is it?
Yeah.
Didn't know there was any
Remich, on the border of Germany.
Oh, god damn.
Yeah, so it's across 3 countries.
Yeah,
So you swim in Germany, cycle, and you go through France, come back into Luxembourg, and then run in Luxembourg.
Beautiful. Yeah. That'll be beautiful, man.
Yeah, be sick. And I am very, very nervous now. Now I've done the sprint, it's opened my eyes into how much work I've got to do on the bike.
Yeah, I think I was saying before the pod, if you had a summer on the bike, like blitzing the bike,
and it was like a September half,
you'd do some damage, I reckon. Like you'd be able to obviously get your strength up on the bike and that, and you're already pretty handy at the swim and the run, and you can make up so much time on the bike now. I'd love to try a 70.3 again now. If I did a bit of running.
What time did you get in Zellamsey?
Pretty bad. It was about 6 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay, well, it's not pretty bad.
Well, it depends what. Well, it's one of them ones again. It wasn't bad at all.
Did you do well on the bike, or were you?
I did okay at the time. The bike was still probably my best thing. I think I'd average about 30 k's an hour.
Okay.
Which at the time I was really pleased with, but I overexerted myself on the bike.
Yeah.
And then again, similar story, died a death on the run.
So the run, how long did you?
The run. So my half marathon PB is like 1:47.
Okay.
On that half marathon to finish the 70.3, 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Wow, okay.
It was a death march, mate.
Yeah.
It was a death march.
Eesh.
It was aid station to aid station, sort of 2.5k, troll through the aid station, packing all sorts of ice and stuff down my pants and my back, sponges on my face, eating stuff that I don't even like just for desperate measures, to just praying something good would happen. Do you know, like it would make... Do you ever get that? It's just a me thing.
Yeah.
Where you end up like in a marathon maybe, or a tough race, like
throwing
desperation.
the kitchen sink at it.
Oh yeah, me eating bananas, mate. I don't even like bananas.
How can you not like bananas,
man? I don't like them. The texture does me wrong. But that sort of state where I was just like, hoping for a miracle that never came.
It's so interesting, isn't it, hearing other people's experiences about it? Because this is something that I'm going to experience the first time, and I don't quite know what to expect.
I think, honestly, mate, because you've got a strong run and you can swim, I think, will the bike leg be the most difficult one for you?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
The thing is, people can tell me if this is delusional or not, but part of me shooting for like sub 5:30.
Sub 5:30, so what will that be? So, yeah, but you can put down a what?
My half marathon PB is like 1:32. So I could do, I'm hoping I could do a 1:45 half.
Yeah.
And then a
35 swim.
I would say 35 top end.
Yeah.
Like slowest, I'd rather.
And then what are you going for on the bike?
Whatever I can to meet that target.
Yeah.
So let me go on to the I did do it on ChatGPT last night, and here we go. Sub 5:30 Ironman breakdown. To give you a 5:24, you would need to do a 35-minute swim.
Yeah.
A 2-hour 45 bike. That's way too quick.
That's a big ask, yeah.
That's way too. So what I'm saying is,
with
like,
a hill at least, it's a big ask.
But then it's saying running a sub 2 half.
Yeah. So
if I can chop time off that, I can then try and aim for a 3:05 bike.
Yeah.
And then do a 1:45 half.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah. What would be your biggest bit of advice to me between now and then to work on my hills and work on my power?
It's a tough one for you being in London, mate. I think get out to Surrey Hills, get some long rides.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, Box Hill and that was
Yeah.
around there. I've never been, but I'd love to go. I think.
Well, let's go together then.
Yeah, I'll come down, have a go up Box Hill, see what damage can do. But I think that'll be it, really. I think, especially if you have a hill in the Ironman, you're going to need to do some long hilly rides in the build up to at least feel somewhat comfortable up it. Because climbing is so hard on the bike when you start out. Climbing is the sort of thing where I'd be off the bike walking when I first got into it, and we do big hills, especially these big European climbs. They're tough. They're normally pretty nice in terms of the gradient, so you can just sit in your easiest gear and sort of spin up. But if there's any parts where it goes steep and you like chomping at the bit a little bit, it kills.
What would be your biggest bit of advice in terms of preparation on the day that potentially you didn't do that you wish someone told you to do?
I'm hella not qualified for this. I'd say.
But that's what this podcast is for. It's for us unqualified people to give our 2 pence.
I think well, for you specifically, I think because where I went wrong was my lack of running again.
Yeah.
I got carried away over the summer of cycling too much and not running enough. And then again, I thought half marathon, I can wing a half marathon when I'm fresh. It's a different story after the swim and the bike. But I think you just got, at the end of the day, you can't hide. If you don't do the training, you're going to get shat on by the event, whatever it is. You're going to get humbled. I've learned that so many times, and it's just my favourite thing to do. Just show up, get humbled, and you realise that it gives you a new perspective on like the Donnies who are doing, like honestly, like the pros and stuff doing these 3 hour 37.
Mate, did you see Lucy Charles Barkley? The 70.3.
Is it the
Let me read you these stats, okay?
Was it the Ironman one?
She did 70.3 last night. Well, not last night, this weekend, sorry.
Is it the one in America?
I think so. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was the Pro Series event in Eagleman. Ironman 70.3's Eagleman. Sounds
American.
It does. It does sound American. Anyway, 3 hours 58 and 10 seconds total time. Yeah. I want to take your guesses. What do you think she got on the swim?
Well, I know she was nearly an Olympic level swimmer, I believe. So I'm going to guess she's done like 1:15s.
Oh, close, bro. 1:18 per 100 on the swim. Total time of 25:10.
Well, that's embarrassing.
So that's 1.8k in 25 minutes.
That's just a joke.
That's insane. Okay, now the cycle.
She's also a beast there, so I'm going to guess, put down like a 2:15.
Oh, close again. 2:09.09. She did an average pace of 42 kilometers per hour.
Yeah. I think the thing I'm going to guess that's a hilly bike course as well, I reckon.
Really?
Yeah, because this is what... Go on, tell me the run and then I'll come on to my point.
Okay, then we go on to the run. This is a half marathon.
She's also a beast, isn't she, as well?
Well, she seems like a beast on everything.
1:13.
Okay, no, not that quick. 1:19.18.
Okay.
She average pace for a half marathon after all of that in 3:45 per kilometre.
Demon. demon.
It's insane.
You can't comprehend that unless you've tried it and you know how different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, doing this shit gives me a new perspective for people who are doing silly stuff like that. But my point was as well, I spoke to Bear people about this, comparing triathlon times is actually pointless.
Yes.
Unless it's part of the same course, because they're so different. Like, you could have a hilly run in one of them, you could have a hilly bike. If she's averaging 42 k's an hour, I bet you £1 million that's a hilly thing, because people can average like 47 k's an hour. I think I watched.
What would what's he called? The guy you mentioned earlier that has the cold pick, the Olympic champion.
Remco.
Yeah, what would he be pushing per
on a TT?
On a TT bike?
Oh, you see them in like 50s on certain parkour. Like, I mean, if it's a flat stage, it'll be in the 50s. Yeah, definitely.
Insane.
Yeah,
insane.
Crazy. But I think I watched, or I saw something. I think it was Sam Long, who's also like a big, famous triathlete. He averaged 47 on a bike. I think maybe at the same event.
What, this one?
Maybe the same event. I'm not sure. I might be lying on that. 47. But he averaged 47. They've got TT bikes as well. It's
yeah.
Mate, if you had a TT bike, you'd be averaging high 30s.
Oh, fuck off.
That's what I tell myself anyway.
Yeah. So, like, Dan, one thing I wanted to finish off with was, like, what are the ambitions for you? Like, obviously, coming into this world, I certainly have this sort of thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
I'm making content around fitness and my lifestyle changes and things like that. Never once when I was younger did I think I'd be doing this right now. What are some of the ambitions you have from your page and your career moving forward?
Yeah, honestly, so I don't have any, maybe to the detriment of myself, I don't have any ambitions to start any businesses or anything like that at this moment in time. My main goal with this stuff is I feel like I'm in a silly, blessed opportunity in this position, and I want to make the most of the experiences that I can get at this moment in time. So, for example, I just want to go and experience the best bike riding, the best events that I can do. Because I think something I've learned is the races and the actual like events, similar to yesterday, they're the best bit about it for me. I think they are the funnest part of the whole job. Obviously, I love doing the content about it as well, and like looking back at the event, but actually doing the races and stuff, I can't get any better than that. And for example, I want to do more riding in Europe as well. So fortunately, again, partnered with Sports Tours to do the Marmot, which I mentioned before the pod, which is like basically a big stage of the Tour de France through the French Alps again, which is going to be sensational. And then in July, I'm doing the Étape de Tour, which is the Queen stage of the Tour de France. So basically a stage of the Tour de France, again in the French Alps. Silly, hilly events, but they're going to be like bucket list type stuff for me. And that's what I want to do more of moving forward. Yeah. What about you? Interesting one.
Yeah, I think my goal is to, because I always see the bit of the trap mentally that I have about content is that you can constantly be training for something and that can become your personality trait and that can be your content style. And I don't really want that, although I love training for things. And I said this on my pod with Johnny, like, I love the mental clarity it gives me having an event in the calendar, but I don't want to be all that I'm known for is like on YouTube, these are the vlogs for the next event he's training for. Yeah. I think having this podcast and growing it out is like a huge passion point for me, and making sure that I'm delivering conversations for with people like yourself who people are only used to seeing in short form. Obviously you are long form on YouTube, but it's still very like curated and stylized to a certain degree. Having these honest like raw conversations where I've not seen anyone else do this, when they're bringing content creators and put them in a spot for people to just essentially listen in and have a kind of insight onto their life. I want to really grow this pod out, and then also my YouTube channel, I've got a couple plans, like diversify a few bits of content that kind of links this pod to my channel. But yeah, essentially keep growing the YouTube, keep growing the podcast, and then use social platforms like TikTok and Instagram to carry it through. But I kind of want it to be growing me, growing people understanding who I am rather than just like fitness content.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I've had the same sort of thought of whether I've gone through bare different periods where I think, should I make the page more about me and my life or just the training type stuff? I've done some things in the past where I like started going into me decorating the flat type thing.
Yeah.
Just, whether you want to de-niche almost and have the thing just about you. Because I feel like, to be honest, a lot of the bigger creators in that space do that. It's not about their training, it's just about them and everything that's around what they enjoy. But interesting one. I feel like you've got a good gig going on here as well with stuff like this. It's a good little niche that you found yourself.
It's cool. I mean, it was obviously like kind of takes my bread and butter, which was my work. Like, producing a podcast. I'm producing this, I'm just hosting it as well. Yeah. Doing things like that where I can kind of blend my essentially professional trade, I guess. But yeah, man, like I think it's really refreshing to see the content that you're making and how, much attention to detail that you have with it all. It's really sick. And I think there's a lot of people that have taken great inspiration, myself included. My YouTube channel is sick.
I appreciate it. I
man.
think as well, got Jade down doing videography yesterday.
Nice.
So just pulling together the Blenheim.
Is it looking good?
She's watching, yeah. She's definitely got a career in videography ahead of her. Just needs a bit of finesse.
Just needs someone else on the camera.
Yeah, just needs a bit.
I'm joking.
A bit of finesse.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good, man. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like similar to you, get the most out of these experiences and crack on with the YouTube stuff.
It is interesting though, the whole career thing in terms of, as you said, start another business or anything. Like I do like the idea of starting something. Obviously, I've got my run club as well.
Yeah.
Making that more of a business, I guess. It's tricky though.
Too many things.
There's so many fucking pies, mate.
I was going to say, I feel like you can go down the rabbit hole of trying to do too much and getting nowhere with all of it. I've had similar things where I fancy doing this and that and this and that. There's just too many stuff. Yeah. I feel like you're better off.
I think inspiring people is a great thing. Yeah. It's a great feeling and it's a really fun thing to do. And it gives you so much. I always say this, people are so bored of hearing it from me, but like net positive, because you're providing a benefit to yourself and to other people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's wicked.
Especially in this space of like endurance sport and stuff. It's so good for people. I think encouraging more people to get into it, whatever it may be, is always going to be a benefit.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Nice
that was
one.
wicked.
Are we going to go and rinse some Regent Parks?
We are. I think we're quite near to Regent's Park, actually.
Have you done it before?
I did it the other morning with a guy called Toby, who, do you know Foran, the team Foran?
Yeah, Demons.
Yeah, he races for them. He's a sick cyclist. Yeah. He took me around and we were doing like, what was it? 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Did 8 reps total.
Yeah, nice.
It was quite tough work,
Yeah.
And also it's like 40-minute cycle for me to get there. So
yeah. Doing any intervals on with that?
I have got an interval session. Do you want me to run you through it actually?
Yeah.
Brownlee Fitness are doing all my cycling training.
They're absolute beasts as well.
Mate, it's insane. So this is the one that we've got on the. So I've just set up my bike computer for people listening, and I very embarrassingly said to Dan, it keeps beeping at me when I'm using the navigation. He's like, what, is it like telling you to start it or something? I was like, yeah, I think so, but I don't know how to start the bike computer. He said there's a button on the side, mate. So I basically was cycling without pressing go.
Yeah, not recording that activity, mate.
Yeah, I did it on my watch though, because I knew I was doing something wrong. Okay, so today's session is warm up of 15 minutes, so that'll be us getting there, let's say. Ramp up 4 times 3 minutes. So I assume ramp up means that you just slowly get faster.
Guess so, yeah.
Yeah. And then 5 minutes of easy cycling. And then the main set is 4 times 2 minutes, lower zone 4, 1 minute upper zone 4 or 5. So essentially 2 minutes of all out.
Yeah.
I reckon we just do that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And then we go and we have like a 5 minute easy rest, and then you do the 4 again, and then a cool down of 10 minutes.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Sounds good, bro.
Been
a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Mainly Instagram and YouTube. How do you do it? Do you drop the...
I can put the links, or you just say everyone what your username is.
It's too awkward. It's like Dange with bare A's and J's. Just put it on the screen.
I'll whack it in the description. Look, thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll catch you next Thursday for another episode. Let me know who you want to see on, who the people you want to hear these conversations with. It's so great hearing feedback, and yeah, I absolutely love doing it. So thank you very much for joining me once again. Take care.